Hey everyone. Welcome to Rockhound Talk Live. I'm your host, Amber Nicole, and this is my co-host, Ben Korn. Rockhound Talk Live is the only live podcast on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. Hey Ben, how are you?
Hey Amber, I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
Doing good. I finally got out and got to do some rock hounding. Do you see the smile?
Yeah.
I mean, I was feeling it in my bones, like just not being able to connect and be outdoors and just break some rock. So I took out my daughter on one day and then my youngest on the other day and was
Oh
able to
wow.
extract this gorgeous crystal or calcite crystal cluster. So it took me like the first day I went, I just thought we were going to do some surface collecting. And then my daughter, she used to be into rock hounding and now she's, going to be 16 and doesn't care about it anymore. And but she's got an eye for it. Like the girl's got an eye for it. And I was messing around over looking at a pocket that had already been, all the goods had already been gone. But, there was some little stuff there. And she's like, Mom, did you see this over here? And I look over there, I was like, oh my God. I was like, that's incredible. It was completely encased though, but it was in chert. So I was able, so it's much easier to get to than limestone. So I had just a regular geohammer and I was hitting away and I was like, oh, this is not going to come out. And it was like 6:15. It was about to get dark and we had about like a 20-minute walk back. So I was like, okay, we're gonna have to come back tomorrow, bring a sledge. And I came out with my son and I was able to get it out. So it was a good
Nice.
times, yes. And it was like my first time out in 3 months. So it felt good. Because every time we've been coming on here, I'm like, oh no, I haven't got out yet. And it was like 62 degrees. So it was a great. Have
Wow.
you have you been out in the last couple of weeks?
I have not. It's actually funny. I wasn't planning on this, but I do have some. Let me pull. So the one thing I've been working on is I've been trying to get to where I can sell some rocks and
Yeah.
minerals, and so I've been getting one of our future guests that hopefully we'll have a next year. I bought some Argentinian agates from and cut some, and I polished some, and so
Oh
I
yeah.
just finished polishing a whole bunch of agates, some Lake Superior agates, some Kentucky agates, a whole bunch of stuff. And this is a Cuatia agate from Argentina. So I just want to show it off here.
Oh, look at that
Let me see if
polish.
I can get it. Yeah, it's too polished, but it's got like a double water line on it. I don't know if I can get it. Let me turn down my light here. But it's got a
Oh
double
yeah, yeah.
water line on it. So it's got a
Ooh.
water line at the bottom and then water lines here, and it's also got a geode pocket on it. And so there's just some really great agates. I've got some that are very fluorescent too, in both long and short wave. So I'm just really, really happy with how they're turning out. I've also found that it's becoming more frustrating than I would have thought because I've got like 2/3 of the agates that I wanted to get polished actually polished because I'm finding that I've only the only experience I have with polishing agates or really rocks in general is I took a weekend course and learned sort of the basics on a flat lap.
Yeah.
And now that I have a flat lap, I'm trying to do it and I'm finding that it's a lot harder than I remember than just doing like
Yeah.
two and having someone standing over my shoulder going, well, you could do this, and do this to
Yeah.
get better. So I've got like a third of them now that like I would get through a certain step and then I'd be looking at it and be like, there's a scratch here. And then I would try and get out. And I'm like, no, I got to go back a step. And then even some of them, like, I got to go back 2 steps to try to get this thing out. And so
I'm glad
it's,
you're sharing
oh,
that because that's been my experience, like just with basic tumblers. Like I just feel like I watched all these videos, and then Kelsey was on, and I was like all these people who just have these incredibly gorgeous polished rocks, and then here mine still look a little dull. And so I had to go through the process and the steps. And so, like, it's definitely for me a learning curve. So it's nice to hear that, there's other people who, are just starting off something newer for them and, experiencing the same thing. But you'll get it. You'll get there.
Yeah. Yeah, and if anyone wants to look it up, Rum River Rock Shop is my rock shop. I'm posting items on Facebook, and then I'm going to start selling some of it on Etsy. I did post a couple things on Etsy, but
Nice.
it's just one of those things where it's, I've got all these rocks and I want to start sharing them and selling them, and
Yeah.
it's, now that I have a rock saw too, like the just excitement of cutting into like a
Uh-huh.
nodule, and then you're like, whoa, like what's inside. Like
Yeah, it
it's just
is.
been it's just been so much fun. It's one of those things that it's I don't have an insulated garage, so now that the weather's finally warm enough, I'm able to just like run my saw and just keep it going. So it's been a lot of fun. Oh, looks like we just lost Amber. She will probably be back on soon. That was a little unexpected. I think she might have hit a wrong button or something like that. So while we wait for Amber to get back on, there was some things I had just talked to Amber about. Well, it looks like she's coming back on
Like,
right
yeah, what
now.
happened? Did you kick me out, Ben?
No, I didn't touch anything.
It
It was a
was like
mutiny. I
weird.
wanted to take over.
Yeah, it was like, what happened? It was like all of a sudden I'm talking, and then it was like, what? But this is a live show.
Yeah.
Surprise. Anything can
Um,
happen.
yeah, and
But
actually, I was
yeah.
just about to get into. I was going to talk
Oh
about some of
yeah,
the
go ahead.
articles I had sent you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, so I found two articles kind of came across. They're both about fossils. Usually, fossils are like the cool things to talk about. But there was a really cool article I saw in the Washington Post. The title of it was just posted just a couple days ago. The title of it is called "A Man Walking His Dog Found a Rare Intact Dinosaur Skeleton."
Yeah.
And it goes through, this was in France, a guy who was actually a paleontologist was walking his dog, and he knew of an area where there were some fossils, and every time he'd walk his dog by, he kind of looked to see if he could see any dinosaur bones. And he was walking, this was actually 2 years ago, was walking, and his border collie mix Muffin um, was going around, and they ended up finding a bone, and he started to kind of dig around, and it turned out to be a pelvic bone of a titanosaur, which, if
Yeah.
you don't know, those are like one of the largest dinosaurs. There's 30 different varieties of titanosaurs, and they can measure up to 70 tons and 85 feet long.
Yeah, I
So
saw that.
huge. So they ended up going, so he reported it, and they
But not right away. He kept it a secret for a while.
yeah, and part of this too that we're hearing about this now, not 2 years ago, was that the university was excavating it, and with a lot of dinosaur sites, especially in places like Utah and in the U.S., you'll have people that'll come and try to figure out where there's dinosaur bones. And I actually talked to the state geologist of Utah, who told me that there are people that will poach and will stand on to like ridges and will wait until you get it completely sealed and ready to get removed, and then they'll come in
Mhm.
and get it the night before you're going to take it out. So they
Right.
kept it all secret. And he's a 25-year-old paleontologist just walking his dog, and they found not just a pelvic bone, but
Oh,
a
and he
whole
actually
bunch.
was an amateur paleontologist. Like I don't think like he actually like went to school or anything. I mean, not to say that's any less, but like I think he was just like a hobbyist.
Yeah, yeah. So he's an amateur
Yeah,
paleontologist,
yeah.
and they ended up going through and finding it was almost the complete skeleton. It was 70% complete. So
That's
just out
crazy.
walking his dog, found a bone, and then I think they said it was missing like one of the legs and like the skull, but they found like a whole bunch of it, which is
Yeah.
just crazy. So
Yeah.
um,
And it's huge. If you look up the article, I mean, like it was, I mean, for that particular species, it was small on the smaller side, but it was still huge. Like it was, I don't know. Did it even say how big it was? All I know is the picture of it. It was gigantic.
yeah, I don't know if they said how big this one was. I know they mentioned the titanosaurs. They're from the Cretaceous period, so 145 to 66 million years ago. Um, Oh, they say the one that they estimate the one that he uncovered was about 30 feet in length. So
That's huge.
yeah, and he found the pelvic bone, so it wasn't some small toe bone or something. He found a
Yeah.
pelvic, so it had to be huge. They got photos in the Washington Post article if you want to look at it. So that's one of the stories that I came across, which is really interesting. And then, if anyone out there is a rock fan,
As in like rock
there's
music.
yes, rock music. There is a article I came across that there was some scientists that were also rock slash metal heads, and they found a worm that's a Jurassic Age worm, and they decided to name it after Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
So there is a 190 million year old fossil that they dubbed Serpula alice cooperi. So just some fun geologists, paleontologists having fun and being able to name species after
rock
um
art or rock bands or artists, I should say. Yeah.
yeah,
That's pretty cool.
the person that named it was quoted by saying, being both a paleontologist and a huge fan of metal and rock music, I've always thought that if someone deserved to have a fossil named in his honor, it should be Alice, for his enormous impact on the musical scene in the last half decade, and his music has been firmly playing in the background during much of my research. So, like Alice Cooper, he says that the serpulid worms were pioneers in their particular lifestyle when they first evolved, and they are still around to this very day. And likewise, Alice is a pioneer of the shock rock scene when he arrived in the late 60s and is still around to this very day.
That's cool.
So, just some fun stories for all of you from the paleontological world.
Yeah. So our guest tonight is Amos Cunningham. I'm not sure of the viewers that are watching, if you are familiar or not, but this rockhound miner and mine owner has been in the hobby for over 50 years. So we're really excited to bring him on tonight. He has a mine in South Carolina with Beryl, Aquamarine, Amethyst, smoky quartz. And actually, the Brian Major, the crystal collector, he began his videos mining at Amos's mine. So long time ago. So we're going to have him tonight. So let's go ahead and bring him out.
Hey, Amos, can you hear us?
I can hear you fine.
Great. It looks like we might not have you on video, but that is okay. We can hear you loud and clear.
Good enough.
So Amos, I'm so excited and so happy. I feel very privileged to have you on the show tonight. Tell us a bit about your journey. I know that you said you started off in the hobby of rock hounding when you were 7. Can you tell us a bit about how that happened for you and kind of the story with that?
Sure, I can. I started when about 7 years old on my dad's farm. He was bringing up rocks, all kinds of rocks, different colors, different shapes. And as a little 7-year-old, I was fascinated. I was interested in where they come from, what they were. And I remember one Sunday, a gentleman would come by every Saturday or so on the Saturdays, and he would bring up big bags of rocks and give my dad about $20 or whatever. And I was wondering what was in the bag. So I had a piece of aquamarine, such as I'm showing you kind of here, if you can see it. Anyway, the gentleman said, little boy, you want to sell that stone? And I'm saying, I had actually a little aquamarine in my hand. He said, I'll give you $1 and a stack of comic books for that rock. And they were like, I'm 7 years old. Hey, that sounds like a good deal to me. So I traded it all. And then I said, they're worth something. So I started digging. When I was about 7 years old, digging for stones, finding all kind of cool stuff, and bringing it up and trying to identify it. And so I did that for years and years and years and years and years, dug rocks for years, and collected a large variety of stones. When I finally finished college in 78, my dad said, why don't you go the rock business? I said, well, that sounds interesting. So I started poking around and looking around. So I found an amethyst vein. And later I found.
Sorry to interrupt. Is this like when you're saying you were finding these gems, were this like on your property or just random places?
Family property.
Okay.
Property. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Actually, my grandfather used to bring them up before I was in. I didn't even remember him. He'd bring them up and pile them up, all different colors and everything. And so when my dad came along, he was wondering what they were because they were pretty, but nobody really knew what they were exactly. And so I was studying them and realized they were worth something, and they began to name them Aquamarine and Beryl and Amethyst and smoky quartz. We had a variety of all kinds of things on our property. So when he said, can I take it over? I said, well, let me find out what we got. So I took a friend with a dozer and we started pushing up different veins of amethyst, different veins of aquamarine, and different veins of quartz and crystals and whatnot. And so in 208, we let a group come in, Magma come in, and they had about 190 some odd people on my property. And they were finding a lot of cool stuff, and we did it for about 9 years. We mined for about 9 years until the vein really got kind of deep. It got kind of deep after that. So I still mess around with it, but I just don't allow the public to come in, but I still collect. I got my own shop and I've been collecting stones now for over 50 years. I think I got one that I found when I was about 7.
Really?
Well,
probably still got it.
So you mentioned some of the minerals that you found,
Yes.
and your camera's not working, so I just want to bring up some of the photos that we've
Sure.
got, so they can all see your wonderful face and some of the wonderful crystals you found. So,
Yeah.
I don't know if you've got any stories. It looks like you've got some Beryl and some quartz too on. It looks like you were interviewed for a magazine.
One is a aquamarine and the other is a green beryl. And then on the other picture with connected, that's an amethyst with its matrix. That's a matrix piece. And the beryl and the aquamarine I found on my property. On the amethyst on the other side, on the connected, I found that at the mine not too far away. And that one was found by using a technique that's a gift of mine, remote viewing. You probably heard of it, but that's been a gift. And I found a lot of stones by using remote viewing. And I can't really explain it. It's a gift, but it works. It kind of helps.
Can you kind of tell? I know you can't explain it, but what do you mean when you say remote viewing? What does that mean?
In other words, if I'm in an area that has crystals, it will kind of lead me to them, almost like a magnet. And so the big one you see over on the side of connected, that's how I found it. It was a place on the ground. I just started digging on the ground, and I knew something was there. Felt like something was there.
I have friends that have that kind of same gift.
I saw. I think it was one of the. I was watching some of your videos that you were featured in. I think it was maybe a Rockhounding USA video that I saw that had you in it, and you were literally going around and you just had like a stick and you were like, there's a crystal right here. And everyone's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, no, right here. And you dug down about 3 inches, and sure enough, there was a crystal right there. And I was like, how? Like, there's nothing on the surface that would tell you that at that spot, and you just got this gift that
that's
witching
great.
rods in your head or something.
And it happens all the time.
Look at that. That's gorgeous.
That's an amethyst that I found some years ago.
That's gorgeous.
And then this looks like possibly the same amethyst.
The big one is a smoky amethyst. I found it on my property, and the other one is an amethyst in matrix that I found on another property, not far away, about 6 miles away.
Now, are these ones that are in the museum that you mentioned?
The smoky amethyst is in my shop. Both are in my shop.
Oh, okay.
I just keep them on display.
Nice.
I might have sent some. Now these are Now the first one is in the Tellus Museum in Cartersville, Georgia. Picture disappeared. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Okay, the first one is in Carter's Museum in Cartersville, Georgia, and it's made like a cross. The second one is a aquamarine with gold wrap, and then there's a aquamarine green beryl cross that I made. The other one was made for my wife, the top one. That's her baby there.
That's gorgeous.
And those were all found on your property, your mine?
Both of them were found on my property, all 3 of them.
Incredible.
So when did you know? Was it like since you for the whole time you've known that there were crystals there, or was there a time where you didn't know that they were there?
Yeah, actually, my father was finding them, and my grandfather was finding them. But they didn't know exactly what they were. They were farming, just digging up the ground, farming, planting cotton, and all these crystals are rolling up, and they're saying, well, they're kind of in the way, really. So just pile them up over here somewhere. But actually, they were beautiful,
Oh,
but
yeah.
they were very beautiful. So this area is called the it's a shear zone, actually. It's called the Lounsville Shear Zone. And in this zone, you can find the listing of things that I told you can find is amazing, from rubies to sapphires to beryl to gold to amethyst to just about any kind of mineral that you could think of. You can find it within this zone that runs throughout the northern part of Abbeville County into Greenwood County in South Carolina. And a lot of people really don't really know about it. It's kind of a secret, sort of.
So, so you mentioned you've been collecting since you were, like 6 or 7 years old.
Yes.
I did read a bit. It says that you were a retired employee of Michelin, and you also did some landscaping. Was just this something that you sort of did, sort of like as a hobby, like on the weekends, or was this something that you sort of did almost full time in addition to your job?
Well, additional to my job, I did landscaping on the side. And when I retired, I do it full time now. It's full time now. But at that time, it was just having fun. But now I got a machine that I dig with. I dig rocks now with a mini excavator of mine. So I don't have to dig with a shovel anymore like I used to. It makes it a lot easier now.
Tell us a bit about how you started getting the community involved into rockhounding. I know that you mentioned that you have been a part of the rock club in your area and also mentoring young and newer rockhounds. So can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, at various schools would invite me to do presentations on gems and minerals from our area. And a lot of them didn't know that we had some of those things. So when they would see those things, it would really get their interest up. And also like different clubs like the Lions Club and the Rotary clubs would invite me, have been inviting me over the years to speak. And so I'd go wherever they send me, wherever they can request me to come and do a presentation. So it sort of got an interest, or more of an interest in gems and minerals in our area. And our Erskine College too. I had exhibits about 3 years from gem mines and of crystal collectors in our area. And so we had them on display for a month at a time. It would be from the month of November. And so Erskine College here in Due West was very inspirational in allowing people to see the beautiful things that can be found. So that was a really cool thing too. And so some of the newspapers got hold to it, and it just kind of spread it a little bit. And it's just been a lot of fun, particularly for young folks. It's for them to see the things that you can really find. And then I think they go home and start digging. I tell them, don't do that. don't dig up your backyard. Don't dig up your backyard. You know how that goes.
Yeah, no, really. So and so you've got a mineral club that you started. Can you talk a bit about your mineral club?
Sure. It's called the Upper Abbeville Gem and Mineral Club. Right now we have around 60 members. We've been in operation for about 2 years now. We go on field trips. We have visitors come in, like your geologist right here. Maybe we can get him to come.
I'm sure Ben would love to come down there.
We'd love to have you. We can get you.
It's been, watching the videos and the pictures and everything today. I was like, oh man, like, cause that's the one thing is like, I do a lot of agates and fossils, and I honestly haven't done a ton of crystals. I will be going to Arkansas here in about a month to go do quartz crystals, but seeing some of the Beryl and emerald type, aquamarine, all that, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I need to get I need to get down there, and I'm just thinking, I'm like, Minnesota gets kind of cold in the winter. Maybe I can go south.
You make a couple. It's a place that's very popular here. It's called Diamond Hill.
Yeah.
Diamond Hill Mine. It's very popular, and they have a lot of the similar things that I have too. And it's open every day. You can go every day, but it's pretty cool too. But yeah.
Is that hard rock mining, or is it more like sifting
surface,
kind of?
More like surface mining.
Surface.
More,
Okay.
yeah, more like, because with the ground's already dug up, and you kind of go
Okay.
in and you keep whatever you find. But it's a pretty cool place. I go there sometimes too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But oh yeah, some of the things that you can find there is different kind of amethyst, aquamarine, smoky quartz, crystal clusters. You can find all kinds of things there. And then there's many areas that's opening up in this area too. I found a piece of what's jasper the other day on my property. I hadn't seen any of that before. You may have cut some of that before. Jasper. It's kind of interesting stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
we,
then I
we get
found
a lot
some.
of jasper up here in Minnesota. We also have, they call it Mary Ellen jasper, which is actually fossilized stromatolites that they've been replaced with jasper, which is pretty cool. You know, you've got like a billion-year-old fossilized algae that is jasper. It looks really pretty too.
Wow. This thing I found is kind of reddish colored. It's sort of reddish, kind of a
Yeah.
color. It's pretty. It's pretty. It may not even come from here. Maybe the Indians brought it. Who knows? But it
You,
is
you know,
pretty.
speaking of that, so I was reading one of the interviews with you, and you were kind of talking about how, you know, where you can sort of find things, and you were saying like, you know, up to 20 feet down, and the veins kind of go wherever. And then you just kind of threw in that the area had been mined off and on since like maybe the 16 or 1700s.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So
Yes.
how do you know, or like, do you know what they were mining like at
Yeah.
that
Oh,
point?
yeah. Actually, Diamond Hill Mine was discovered, by our understanding, by De Soto. You've probably heard of the Spaniard De Soto. Well, De Soto
Okay.
came through and he was finding a lot of crystals, and somehow or another the name came Diamond Hill. But he came through there and named that mine. And so there's places around where we live that has been mined. You can tell it has been mined before. But I think they were finding mica, and they were finding vermiculite, and they were finding crystals as well. So they were finding, because they weren't really planting cotton or anything. So apparently they're making some money off of mining. So there was and gold mining also was very popular in this county. And you can still find gold in the streams around here. So it's I guess that's probably what making their money off of gold, probably.
So other than your gift that you have, what are some indicators if someone who doesn't have that gift to be able to find crystals, what kind of indicators would they be looking for to know that this would be a good place to start digging for crystals?
That's a really great question. When you look at the topography of the land, you look for places where trees won't grow.
Okay, yeah.
You look for places where trees grow, but they look real sick looking. They look real sad because the mineralization, there's so much mineralization that it's killing them actually. It's starving them out. And so you look for that. Look for trace elements on top of the soil. Like if you're looking for amethyst, look for little pieces of amethyst. And when you
Okay.
find a lot of pieces of amethyst, I generally dig down, and it won't be very deep. Sometimes only a foot, maybe even less than that. And you'll
Okay.
start finding crystal pods of various things, whatever you're looking for. Here where we live, if you own a good bit of property and you have some amethyst on it, you'll probably also have aquamarine and beryl. That's one thing that's interesting. Almost each one of the areas that I kind of looked at, you can find both of them. They run kind of together, but not quite together, but kind of together, kind of parallel to each other, which is really interesting. And that case has happened over and over and over and over again. So I think that's really fascinating too. Some other signs too is the color of the soil.
Okay.
You may have a red soil. Our soil here is red, kind of reddish color. And when it turns yellow, you know you're on top of a vein of something.
Ooh, okay.
You always almost can depend that it's something. It could be amethyst, it could be beryl, it could be one of those minerals, but that shows that it is surfacing. It's coming to the surface. That means it's not that far down, and you can dig it pretty easily then. And
Ooh.
then there's just the go to the streams, and you can find things in the streams and track it back. It's kind of like it's like hunting, really. It's like hunting. I don't deer hunt, but I rock hunt.
Yeah, it is. It's so exciting to hear the level of enthusiasm that you have
Oh, it's
for
fun.
the hobby. It's great. I love
It
it.
is so fun. It never, like I said, I've been doing it for over 50 years. You think I'd get tired by now, wouldn't you? But no, I never get tired. It's so much fun. And to see young people particularly enjoy it, it just brings a little excitement to me too.
So we know that you have a mine in South Carolina, but I know that you also mentioned that you've done a lot of traveling. You've traveled with the crystal collector, I believe, like to Tucson,
Yeah.
and you said
Yes.
you've got friends all over the U.S. Who have mines or who are in the hobby.
Yes.
So my cousin here, Kenya, thanks Kenya for watching. Thanks for the support. She has a question.
Sure.
What is the best state to find crystals? So in your opinion, as a rock hound over the last 50 years and your traveling experience and going different places collecting, what state do you think has the best crystals or the best crystals to find?
The easiest to find, the best crystal, of course, would be Arkansas. The prettiest would be Arkansas. But some of the most abundant crystals found right here in South Carolina. Easy to access, beautiful color, and a large variety of stones. Of course, North Carolina, of course, has always been a stable of finding all kind of cool stuff. But our terrain is easier to manage. It's not so mountainous. It's not so steep. It's easy to get around in. And it has such a large variety. Like I say, the list is very long of the type of minerals we have, from rubies, sapphires, to it just goes on and on and on. And this particular zone that we're in, the Lionsville zone, is packed with all kinds of cool stuff. Instead of it being a wide zone, it's very narrow, but it has all kinds of things. So it's kind of been untapped. In some areas have been mined regularly, but our area really hasn't been tapped. It's just like it's kind of scratching the surface of what is here. I think that's really fascinating. So it depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for a large variety of stones, South Carolina's got them, from gold to gems to, it just hasn't been publicized that much, but it's just amazing what's here. And the people are nice. People are friendly and they are nice. I don't think I've ever really met a bad rock hound before. It made me
that's one thing where I knew that I found my people in this hobby is because
Yes,
it's such a warm and
it
inviting
is.
hobby and it's such a healthy hobby. And then you have these really just happy people there because they're just so happy to find these gorgeous treasures that, regardless of your differences, it's like when you come into this hobby, like we all just become like kind of one because we're on that same level,
It's
so
true.
it's we have a great community in the hobby for
It
sure.
is. You said that really remind me of something. Probably we had about 2,000 people to come here during the 9 years that we had people, and they were from all walks of life. There were people from Russia and Ukraine and wherever else in the world. It's with France, and some some of them were like scientists and engineers. We met 2 NASA engineers that came and became rock hounds, and they're loving it now. They
Yeah.
retired engineers, and they like rock hounding now. So it's relaxing too. That's one thing about it. It is very relaxing.
Yeah,
I mean,
we had a comment here on the screen from Coach Tina FJ, who said that Amos definitely has a gift. He's taught me and my husband and I so much, and we appreciate him. And it kind of goes in. I saw there was I don't know if it was in the article or something, but you were doing like a crystal camp
Yes.
for people. So what made you decide to do like a camp and sort of do some of the educational things?
Excuse my sinuses. Our trees are blooming out, so if you hear me sneezing, that's why. But anyway, we started a rock camp for just basic rock hounding to show people how to basically find them, how to collect them, how to identify them, and how to look at the signs, natural signs, using various tools and devices to find them. And they work very good. They're very simple. But a lot of people don't know how to. I would say probably the average person that goes rock digging, they really don't know a lot about what they're doing or looking for. So it gives you sort of a basic education of what to look for, how to look for it, and how to collect it, how to buy it, sell it. And so it kind of gives an overall view.
I wish that every state had, or even just every county had people like that could, you can go to and they can teach you these things. I know a lot of rock clubs do that, but just to have that kind of education, because there's a lot of people who want to get into this hobby, and they're like, where do I start? And that's I mean, you need to know that kind of stuff. So that's great that you have that. You offer that to people. Do you still do that, or is that just something
Still
that you
do
would?
it. I do it.
Oh,
I do it
cool.
once. I do it once a year,
Oh, that's
and we'll have
awesome.
average maybe about 50 people or so that'll come
That's
and
awesome.
learn. Two again, we give safety tips because that's important too. Because you can get out there and you can get lost, and all kind of things can happen to you. So the type of tools to use and all those things are very important. And basically, I'm writing a book right now.
Yeah.
My wife's laughing. I'm getting along with it pretty well. It may be out sometime soon.
So do you have any, really interesting, you've been doing this for so long, I'm guessing you've got a ton of them, but do you have like a really interesting story that, maybe it'll show up in the book, but maybe something that you could share?
Yeah, I got one. There's a 5-year-old little girl. She's as sweet as she can be. She and her dad comes to my shop from time to time. I won't tell you her name, but she's as sweet as she can be. And she loves Mr. Amos, as she calls me. So one Saturday, her dad and her were coming to my house, and she decided she wanted to stop at this creek and just look around. So he said, okay. So they went down through the creek and they stopped at a sandbar, and she went over and picked up a rock. Well, he didn't think much about it. He thought it was a piece of glass, really. We'll take it, Mr. Amos, and we'll see what we got. So they brought it, and when I saw it, I was saying, this looks awfully strange. It was heavy. A heavy piece of glass. And when I first saw it, the first thing came to my mind was topaz. And I couldn't believe it because I wasn't known that we'd find topaz around here. So anyway, I told him for my book, it's topaz, but I can't believe this, Anyway, so they took it to a jeweler, and the jeweler said, where did you find this? He said, my daughter found it. So you know what this is? And he said, well, not really. This is topaz. And he said, this is gem quality topaz. And
wow.
This is 120 carats of topaz.
What?
Wow.
That's not even the end of the story yet. 120 carats of topaz. They took it to a university to have it analyzed. He came out and said, where did you get this at? So my daughter found it. My daughter found it. Do you know what this is? He said, well, the jeweler says topaz. And he said, yes, this is 220 carats of gem quality topaz. 220 carats. A little 4-year-old girl found this.
It's always the kids. It's always the kids. They find
always the kids. Always the kids.
Always.
So he's locked it up for her education. I don't know what it's worth, but he said, last time I told him, he said it's worth a lot. He says it's worth a lot. And I just left it like that. So he's got it for education.
Oh my Lord.
4-year-old. She is
special.
She is gifted.
Yeah, I actually found a 228 carat topaz crystal.
Wow.
When I was in Colorado, but it's good. It's sort of beat up. I think actually
you still got it.
It's right here.
No, you don't.
So this is my topaz.
Here's as big as me.
Wait, you're holding out on us. I didn't know you had this.
What you gonna do with it?
This was my my find in outside of Lake George.
Wow.
The Doris family, who was on some of the Weather Channel crystal collecting things. They do Pinnacle 5 mining. They've got some claims on the Smoky Hawk, and then they also do a topaz claim. And they've been really great to our mineral club.
Wow.
When I was in Chicago with our mineral club there, I went out there, and I always tell people beginner's luck is a real thing. And I was out there and just sort of raking these alluvial, piles of sand that they had, and ended up finding it. And I was like, holy crap. And so, yeah, it's pretty beat up because it, tumbled down the mountain.
That is gorgeous.
Yeah. So it's not the museum, crystal facet that you see, but yeah.
But that's a great find, my Lord.
It is.
Yeah, so if anyone's curious what 220 carats of topaz looks like, this is what it is. So I can't imagine a 5-year-old just picking it up, going, oh yeah, it's a piece of glass or something. It's a topaz crystal.
I got one more story for you.
Okay.
My daughter Allison is grown now. She's in her 20s. But when she was about 7 years old, I had a can of rocks in the bag. And she said, Daddy, can I clean these rocks? And I'm saying, I was at the kitchen. I said, okay, go ahead. I shouldn't have said that. Go ahead. So I went back and she had mud slinging everywhere in the sink, just mud and everything. She said, Daddy, there's some funny rocks in here. I said, what do you mean, Allison? There's funny rocks in here, Daddy. I went back in the kitchen. She came, she brought me one. I said, Allison, what are you doing? You putting gold fingernail polish on this rock or something? She said, no, here's another one and another one and another one. It was gold. She had found gold in my box, in my can. And wow. I never knew she found gold encrusted amethyst with gold caps.
What? That's insane.
That's insane. Yeah. And so wow. I took it to some of my friends and said, wow, this is amazing. So I took it to the jeweler because I didn't believe it. I thought it was pyrite or something. Uh-huh. And he said, where'd you get this? He tested it. He said, this is pure gold. He said, you need to go back there. I went like, I don't know where it came from. I'm not really sure where it came from, but it was pure gold on top of amethyst crystals. So it was amazing.
Yes, what an amazing.
And my little daughter found that thing. So I always talk about her. But yeah, we found some very beautiful things. And I think about the other. Is there one more story? I'll tell you. I was at one of the rock mines not too far from here. And the owner was picking up some pretty nice looking stuff. And then it was one that was coated with iron. It was a crystal coated with iron. So he said, you can have it and take it on home. And I'm saying, okay, I'll take it home. I took it home and put it in some iron out. And the next morning I opened it up. It was so beautiful. It scared me to death. It was beautiful, purple, beautiful crystal. And we kept it around the house for a while. And my wife said, I don't feel comfortable having that in the house. It was that pretty. So Brian Majors, a crystal collector, came by and I said, Brian, will you take this to Tucson and see if you can sell it? He said, I don't feel comfortable. I said, you don't feel comfortable? I don't feel comfortable with this. He said, I don't feel comfortable with this thing. So he said, well, I'll tell you what, I'll take it. So he took it out there, but he took a picture of it and put it online. And so when he got out there and it was sitting up there, table, one of the biggest buyers came by. He said, I want that. And they said, what is he? I want that. And they said, what do we do? What do we do? He said, I'll tell you, I can't give you for what it's worth, but I'll give you $12,000 right now. They were like, whoa. So they called me from Tucson and said, what do we do? What do we do? I said, sell it.
Yeah, 12,000. I'll take that.
We didn't pay anything for it. So he bought it. He put it up for sale for $35,000 and he sold it.
What?
Yep.
Wow.
Then it was up for sale for $50,000 and it sold.
What?
Then it was up sale sold this year for guess how much?
75.
A little less.
68.
Right.
And did it sell?
68. It sold $68,000.
What? You found a $68,000 crystal? Oh my God.
And you can actually fit it in your hand. I think I might have seen.
Did you find that on your property? Did you find that on your property?
Unfortunately, it didn't come from me.
Oh, but still you found it though. My Lord.
I didn't pay. I got it free.
Oh, wow.
So now it's worth $68,000.
Oh, that is like why the hobby, not why, but I mean, it's not about the money, but it's like, you never know like what you're going to find.
Right.
But you can find something that great. And that just knowing that just is like, it just pushes you to go find more.
It sure does.
Yeah, I've talked to people about, sort of this, like, oh, what do you like to, sometimes be like, oh, I like to, like treasure hunt. And like, what? Really? I'm like, yeah, like I go rock hounding, and then like, oh, and it's like, you don't understand.
You
could find something amazing, like, 200 karat topaz crystal or, like $60,000 quartz crystal. Like,
right.
You never know what you're going to find.
You never know.
The best
and, there are a lot of
people
once they learn the skill, once they learn, like you've learned the skill, Ben. And so when you go digging, you know how to do it. And Amber, you know how to do it. You've been before. There's some people that go, they have no clue. They don't even know what they're doing. But
Yeah,
it's fun, and it's a lot of fun. The thing about it, it's fun,
it
it's
is.
clean, it's enjoyable, it's challenging. It never gets old.
No.
It keeps you young, because you know I must be pretty old now after 50 years. But anyway, it keeps you young at heart. It does. But you know, you don't get obsessed with it. At one time when I was growing up, I'll be honest with you, when I was like 8 years old, I probably was obsessed, because I remember digging in the backyard and my mom coming out, "Get out of that hole, boy." And I remember popping up out the hole like a pack rat or something. And get out of there, and I'm dirty and everything. And she turns around, I go right back again. I'm back digging again. But I don't do that anymore. But I tell you, I have a wife she's wonderful. She tolerates my digging. She doesn't care that much for it, but she don't mind that I do
Oh,
it.
that's awesome. It's really, really, really great to have a supportive spouse
It
when
is.
you're like, I hate to use the word obsessed, but I mean it is what it is. When you're obsessed about the hobby like that,
It's
to
fun.
have a supportive partner, I mean, you can't ask for more than
After
that.
43 years, she's still with me.
That's awesome.
Wow.
I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
That's great.
But either one of my kids, they are slightly interested. I'll say that. They're slightly interested. But they really are not rock hounds, but they're
No.
slightly interested. They don't
Yeah.
mind. They like looking at them and picking them up, playing with them, whatever. But it is I'm really proud of you guys for what you're doing, because it's opening up a new world for people to really enjoy themselves. There's a lot of people who are under a lot of strain. And I'll be honest with you, rock hounding can help release the pressure.
Amen. Yep.
Yeah. There's we had Tom Hebert on, and he talked about some of the mental struggles that he's gone through in his life.
Yes.
We had Chase, the agate dude, was on, and he talked about some of those things too. And after Thomas's episode, I was talking with a friend online, and he was listening to it, and he said, this hobby, it seems like there is a lot of depression and mental things, and
Yes.
I think it's not so much of like it attracts sort of damaged people, but it just shows that like it is such a therapeutic thing. And
Absolutely.
it's I'm sure some of it's just getting outside, but just the finding things on your own, putting in the effort and seeing the payoff. Like there's so much of it that it's good for the soul is really what it is.
Yep.
It's
It
healthy.
sure is. Yeah. Yep. Let's see. We've got a couple questions here.
My wife was asking a question. She said, anyway, go ahead. Got a question? Go ahead.
Yeah. So Braxton Patterson says, ask him where the Amethyst line is from Georgia to North Carolina, like Ellis Mine or those in Anderson County near Greenwood or Spartanburg to exit to I-26.
Yes. You can get a geomap from the South Carolina Geological Survey, and you can see the Latimer Shear Zone. It's on there, and you can let's say Lounsville, the Lounsville Shear Zone. It'll show you how you can follow it through parts of the county, on through into Georgia, on through into, actually it goes on up to Union, South Carolina, and on into North Carolina. So you can actually track it. You can actually pin it if you wanted to. And along that line, you can find some extraordinary material. So that's one easy way to find it. It's the Latimer Shear Zone is the only place in South Carolina that it exists. It's a very thin, the Lounsville Shear Zone is a very thin marker on the map, but it contains almost anything you can think of. And so once you can find things over here, and you can go right on that line and find things all along that line. Of course, you can find things in other states, in other counties as well. But that area is more compacted. It's got more things in it. And a lot of this some of it's volcanic, some of it's hydrothermal, some of it's a combination of both. I have on my property a sulfide. It's called a sulfide extrusion. And in it, I found some jet. And, I had never found jet before. Jet is very pretty. but it was it could have been an old log at one time that fell in the swamp. You know what I'm talking about, man. In the swamp, and it fossilized, and then inside of there it changed over to sort of a different kind of materials, minerals and things that it changed over to, such as jet, which that was something new for me. I wasn't familiar with that. But it's just so much. But if he follows those lines, along that line, you can find all kinds of stuff. From Abbeville, due west, Greenwood, Upper Abbeville, Ivor, Lounsville, on into Georgia, on in as far as even you could go to trying to think of the mine below Atlanta. It's part of the same formation, actually. You probably heard of the Hog Mine.
Yeah.
Had you heard the Hog Mine is part of that whole formation that runs through. Grays Mountain is a part of that whole structure, you know.
Nice.
Okay.
And along that line, you have small volcanoes. There's one or two in our county, and there's some in the lower part of the county, and they're scattered all around, and they are the real source of all these materials. They're the real source of them.
Okay.
Because on the small cones of volcanoes comes a lot of material, beautiful material, stress, strain, heat, all that sort of thing. So it's really a cool study. It never really ends. It goes on and on and on, but it keeps you active and keeps you interested. So if there's any more questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Yes. Suze. Hey, Suze. Thanks for watching. She wants to know, what's your favorite crystal to find?
Oh, wow. My favorite crystal is amethyst.
I figured you'd say that.
You kind of figured it in.
Yeah.
So have you been to other places to find amethyst? I know it's been found, I know of spots in, Nevada, there's the Thunder Bay, Ontario. Have you been outside of sort of the South to find amethyst?
Tucson, Arizona contains a lot of crystals and a lot of other minerals. So I've been there, mined there. I've mined in Georgia. There's the Jackson's Crossroads in Georgia has some of the most beautiful amethysts there. North Carolina has some beautiful emeralds, Crabtree Emerald Mine. I've been there. I have yet to go where Amber has been, and that's the mine in New York.
York, yes. Oh my God. Come on, Amos, let's go.
I gotta go.
You can't mention that to Amber. She's probably got a go bag ready, and she'll just hop in the car and start driving right now.
I want to go there so bad. I got to go there. I got to go there. I collect Herkimer diamonds. I collect them, but I've never found one. But I got a collection of them. They're just so beautiful. That's just anyway. Any other question? I'm listening. I'm ready. I'll answer any question. Now, while you're doing that too, one of the number one curators from the Smithsonian came to visit our area and was really blown away. Michael Wise is one of the curators for the Smithsonian Institute, came down a few years ago, and we took him to some of the sites, and he just couldn't believe it that these things existed here. He was really blown away. And we met him at Cartersville, Georgia, because my stone was on exhibit. One of my stones were on exhibit there.
Nice.
He was giving a presentation there, so we met him like that. Excuse my sinus.
Okay, we got a question here. Kenya wants to know, does your collection take up a lot of space in your home?
No. It's not in my home. It's in my shop.
Okay.
I have a shop, and half of the shop belongs to my wife and my son. We collect all kinds of stuff, got all stuff in it. And the other side is mine, and that's where I have my cases for my various types of gems and things, whatever. So no, it doesn't take up much space unless you wanted to. I had a friend who collected so much. This is a true story. He filled his house full of gems and rocks and things. He had to move in a bus. So he lived in a bus for a long time.
That's funny.
Some people have their whole basements. That's kind of excessive, isn't it?
I got a lot myself.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, aren't you been? You got a lot of?
Oh, yes, he does.
It depends on who you ask. If you ask me, I don't. If you ask my fiance, she says I do. She's been poking me to get rid of a bunch. I've got, I mean, almost every room I've got some small, case or something, but I've got my basement, I've got a whole room that I've got, everything now is cataloged, and if I want to find my
really
petrified wood from Oregon, I've got my, I can pull that out. If I want to find some fluorescence from New Jersey or
Wow.
Herkimer diamonds, or, I've got fossil leaves from the Fort Union Formation of
Goodness
Montana.
gracious.
Like, yeah, I've got a bunch of stuff. So it's, that's part of why I'm starting to sell stuff right now too, is
Well, I am too.
I don't,
Me too.
yeah, I don't have the space to display all of it right now,
I don't
and
either. We don't
it
either.
doesn't do me a whole bunch of good to hold on to it. And I'm hoping someone can, enjoy it, because I can't enjoy it as much when it's sitting in a tub in a basement.
You got that right. What about you, Amber?
Oh yeah, I mean, I have a ridiculous amount, but I'm not quite as organized as Ben.
I'm not either.
Like, okay, now I can tell you where everything is and where it's from, but it's not organized.
Not either. No.
And I have rocks literally in every place of my home, but they're nicely put away. But then in the garage, I've just got, and that's why I've been selling more. Is it feels wrong to just have them sitting in buckets. And I'm like, I have been very lucky to collect as much as I have. So, selling them, where it's not, you're not breaking someone's bank, for a decent price, and they can enjoy these beautiful crystals or rocks and, other things that I've collected. So I've gotten more into selling so that I don't become so much of a hoarder. So, but
yeah,
we've
I
go ahead, Ben.
No, I was just gonna say, so the one thing with labeling and or categorizing things, I've moved around quite a bit. I got a house this past year, and before that I was in an apartment, and I was living in that apartment for about 3 years, and that was the longest I had stayed in a place since I was in high school. So having to move around a lot, and in that apartment I had a 2-bedroom apartment, and one bedroom was almost entirely rocks. So being able to categorize and store things in a very organized manner was very important. And now that I've got a house, it's, I'll just throw a box in the garage, or do this. And now, it's becoming more apparent that, organization is key. I've got, something inside each box or bucket that says where it's from or whatever. Because the one thing, if you ever spend time in a mineral club, you'll find that sometimes people, for whatever reason, have to get rid of a collection. And there are so many stories of people that have an entire collection that they donate to a mineral club or something to go up for auction. Yeah. And there's almost no information on half of the stuff. That's true. And it's one of those things where, like, hopefully nothing bad happens to me, but if something bad were to happen, someone can go through and each stone's got a label, and I try and put when I collected it and everything like that, so they can say, oh, this is what it is. So also it's worth money, and someone doesn't try and sell a $200 rock for $10.
I need to do that.
I need to do that. I need to do that. We've had some of ours made into jewelry, and I pick at my wife all the time because we've had some beautiful jewelry made out of some of the things that I found. But she won't wear it. I say, why don't you wear it? Oh, I might lose it. But I say, well, nobody knows what you got, and they spend a good little bit of money getting them cut, so, but I'm working on them. Amber, you need to work on it too. Can you start wearing
that's like, you better start wearing that jewelry.
I'm serious.
I do.
She's saying she do. I do. I know she don't. Because I had one made, actually, there was an aquamarine that was found here. And the cutter even said, I really don't, you don't see too many things like that around unless they're colored or painted or whatever. And I had a ring made for her. I had it cut for her and put in a ring, and it's beautiful. And I don't think I've seen her wear it maybe one time, something like that. She says, I need to wear it with the same kind of clothes. And I said, well, don't make it, just wear it. And I have a bracelet with aquamarine crystals, with green Beryl crystals. And I gave her for Christmas. and I don't know. She may not even know where that is, but she got an amethyst. Yes, she has an amethyst. Whatever. And some Herkimer diamonds, but she doesn't wear them.
Do you do the? Do you do the?
There we go.
Do you do the? You get the jewelry made, or do you do lapidary work as well?
No, that's a good question. Now the cross that you see, that Beryl cross, got a little aquamarine in it. I found those crystals and actually used jeweler's glue and made that cross. But now
nice.
the aquamarine, that's a one stone right there. That blue aquamarine, I had it made for my wife, and that's gold wrap. That cost a little bit to have done for her.
That's gorgeous.
But it's beautiful though.
Wow.
Yeah.
In Franklin.
And had it done in Franklin, North Carolina.
Okay.
The rings and things. This was done in South Carolina. But yeah, it's just amazing the different things that you can find in this area. It just and when I finish writing that book, it'll be some pictures. It'll be some pictures and things about some of the things you can find around here. That will.
So is that kind of where your future is leading you in the hobby, is to finish your book and just to continue to mentor? Is that kind of where you see yourself in the the future?
It is. And to continue to develop some areas around here. There's some other people who have some nice stones, and they, it was kind of funny. We laugh about it a lot of times. I'll go to a person's house maybe, and they said, I had this amethyst. I used it for a door stop on my door, and I lost it somewhere. I don't know where I did with it, but it was big. It was big, and it was. I go like, you have no idea what you have no idea. There's a friend of mine. Well, I say a friend of mine, a guy that I knew in high school. In the 8th grade, he brought one of the most beautiful aquamarines to school for show and tell. He found it at his grandmama's house at the lake. And it was so beautiful. You could take your hand and you could see your hand on the other side of that blue thing.
Oh, wow.
And here I am in 8th grade. I said, you want to sell it? You want to sell it? I didn't have any money. He said, no, I don't want to sell it. I don't want to sell it. So years later, I saw him at a filling station. And I went to him. I said, what did you do with that rock that you brought to school? He said, I lost it somewhere.
Oh my
God. Looking at it, I'm not trying to say this. Looking at it, it was worth, I don't know. I would be scared to say the value of that thing. It was beautiful, though.
Man.
It was very beautiful. But if you don't know what something's worth, well, it just doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Knowledge is power. Knowledge is important to learn about these things. We have magnetite here, too. Actually, there was an old man that lived not too far away. He had a giant block of magnetite holding his door open. And he said, go pick it up. And it didn't look that big. It didn't look that big to me, but I'm pretty strong, and I couldn't hardly pick it up. The thing was so heavy. It was so heavy. You guys have seen magnetite. It's very heavy.
Very dense, yeah.
But anyway, it's so many stories about so many things.
Well, sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, so the book you're writing, then, I know you kind of mentioned like sort of having to be a guide. Is it sort of going to be strictly a guide, or sort of like an autobiography and some stories, or like tell me more about that?
It's going to be a combination of autobiography / learn all you can about, learn as much as I can put in there about how to find them, how to dig them, how to collect them, how to buy them, sell them, tools, safety tips. It covers pretty much the whole realm of rockhounding. But it also is an autobiography because I've had some really interesting experiences, even with remote viewing and with just finding them using scientific methods. So hopefully someone will see that, and and being a God-fearing man the way I am, I give him all the credit for finding all the things I found. It's not me, it's really God. And I'll tell you one particular story that grabbed my attention. Well, the first time we had a dig in 2008, we had about 190 something people that came, and they were finding Beryl and Aquamarine, but they weren't finding that much amethyst. So the the guy that was over, he said, could you take your machine down and dig around and see if you could find some amethyst? So, knowing me, I said, okay. So I got on it and I rode down the woods, and the people were kind of standing around and they were kind of molding around. They weren't finding anything. And you can believe this or not, a simple voice said, dig right there. And I'm going like, what? Dig right there. So anyway, I told him, I said, look, if we find anything here, don't give me credit for it because I'm just going along with the plan. And so a spot about the size of a basketball, just in the ground. I dug there in the first scoop. Actually, there was nothing. But the next scoop, I heard the sound of glass. And I knew, uh-oh. So up come the amethyst, 8 feet deep in that same little spot. Amethyst. We were just kind of giving away amethyst. And they were saying, that's a miracle. I'm saying, yeah, it's a miracle, all right, but I didn't do it. I'm just going along with this plan.
Yeah.
And that has happened over and over, different times in different situations. So that'll be in the book. That'll be in the book too. Different situations where I know I didn't do it. I'm just going along with the plan.
Yeah.
And you say, well, how can rocks be a witnessing tool of how you can serve God, or you can see Him working? Well, remote viewing is one way because you're not supposed to be able to do that. You're not supposed to be able to sense things under the ground. That's not normal. But there are a lot of people that can do it. And Brian Majors can do it. He's gifted.
I think there's also, a psychological part of rockhounding.
Yes.
And I've talked to some people about this because, I look for Lake Superior agates and I do it in a farm field. And so there's times where you'll walk and you won't find anything. And then there's times where you walk and it's like, you can't even, take a step and you're finding them everywhere. And I always kind of notice that, like, when I start to not find them and I start feeling down, I'm like, am I ever going to find another one? Like, what's going on now? Like, you start thinking negatively and you start thinking you're not going to find them.
Right.
Yes.
But once you start changing your mindset, and I found like sometimes I'll pick up a random rock and say, this is going to be my lucky rock. I'm going to find stuff now. And then I start finding stuff.
Yeah.
And it's that mindset of, I'm going to find it, and then it tricks your brain into saying, okay, there's one there. I need to find it. And then you start finding it. And I really think, like remote viewing and just the psychological part of just that positive attitude can really do wonders while you're out rockhounding.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a story I'll share with you. Actually, I'll just share this one, but it's been more than one. But I was talking to a friend of mine not too long ago, and he was sharing with me. He said, you know how I got into rockhounding? I said, not really. He said, I was watching your videos, you and Brian Majors, and at that time, I was going through some really serious things in my life. I said, what do you mean? He said, I was thinking about committing suicide. I said, what? You got to be kidding. He said, no. I was thinking about killing myself. He said, when I saw that, it gave me hope. Hope. That's what he said, hope. And he said, I needed that right then, hope. Yep. And I said, well, that's wonderful that it happened to you. He said, I was at a bad place. He said, and that saved my life. Every time he see me, he said, you saved my life. I said, well.
Yep. I always say rockhounding saves lives. I mean, this show wouldn't be here if I was in a dark place and rockhounding pulled me out of there. So this, it totally does save lives. It
does. It's, we all can tell stories about, how it changed our life. Yeah. Changed our lives. There was any other questions? Was there another question that someone?
Let's see here. Just some comments here. Let's see. He needs some Amos to rub off on him. He needs some of that.
He come digging with me anytime.
Let's see.
But I always say this, you guys: the best find has never been found yet. The best find has never been found yet. So you guys may be the one who makes that great find that motivates somebody. Really, really motivates somebody. Who knows?
Yeah.
But if you never look, you never know.
That's right. Always trying to pull more people into the hobby. Always.
Oh, absolutely. It has grown now. It has.
Oh, really grown. I love it. I love it.
You guys are doing is really important because you may be saving lives.
Yep.
You're probably saving lives and don't even know it just by being here.
Yeah, it's so funny that you say that. I'm a nurse and I've been taking care of people in a level 1 trauma center for almost 20 years. And I've been saving physical lives. And I always say that I feel that my calling now is to save lives through rockhounding. So
And that's amazing. Well, Ben, what about you? You save lives too.
Yeah.
Ben saved my life with the show, like
Isn't that something?
I just have to say, like, he's the best co-host ever. I just need to say that.
Oh, he's great.
Thank you. Yeah, and I think there's multiple stories coming to my head right now. I guess I'll share two stories. One of them actually doesn't have to do anything with rockhounding. Kind of going back to like just people, and I've spent some summers working at a Boy Scout camp, and I was the fishing director for a while, and I would teach merit badges, and one of the merit badges I would teach was fishing, and you would have to teach kids to tie knots. And there was one class that I had, and you always get people that have done it before, people that have never fished, whatever, all sorts of different experiences, and I always try and get people to do everything. If the kid puts forth effort, I will get you to catch a fish. I will get you to pass that class. Yes. And one of the classes I had, there was a kid in there that he was legally blind. And I had the guardian come up to me, and, they were like, hey, like, they're supposed to learn how to tie these knots. How, is there a way that you can, write it off, because they're blind? And I said, well, before you even do any of that, like, let's just see what they can do. And I would, work with him, and we had rope that we would use because you could actually see it. And I would have him feel it and go, okay, so you wrap it around here and go through here. And this is, a Palmer knot. And then, if you wrap it around like this, and this is, clutch. I went through the knots, and, spending that time, he learned how to do it and really felt like he wasn't anyone special. He didn't need any special treatment. He was learning what it was supposed to be. And, I'd like to think that, he wasn't in that moment feeling like he had to get any sort of special treatment or that he was really different, but he was learning all of the things that everyone else had to do. And, it made him so much more independent, where he could go out and go fishing. And if he had to tie on a hook, he could do it himself. Wow. And it reminds me too, kind of the same thing. I'm teaching a geology merit badge again at a Boy Scout camp coming up next month, and I did it a couple years ago. And the girls are now in Boy Scouts, and there's a girl in the one class I was doing, and just being able to inspire kids. There was an adult that came to me later who said, she's got ADHD and she's always bounced off the walls, but you made the class interesting, and she could sit there and she learned stuff, and she just did it because there was something to do, and she didn't want to do any of the other ones. And she came back, and the adult told me, she just kept going off about like, wow, I had no idea, like, geologists do all these cool things, and rocks are so much fun, and all this. And I think it's being able to inspire kids and have them find something that they're passionate about, because I think that's something that people, whether it's rocks, minerals, fossils, whatever it is, just being able to find that thing that you're passionate about. And a lot of kids, they just don't have exposure to it. So I agree. It's just really important to be able to get out there and talk to kids and share it, whether it's with the mineral club or during like your rock camps, or hopefully, I know there's, I've talked with, mothers that, can't watch this at Wednesdays, but they'll download our podcast on, Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever, and listen to us, in the car or whatever. And, being able to help people, appreciate the hobby and be with like-minded people. And then hopefully there's someone out there that, has kids, or, a younger person watching that can just say like, oh, this sounds really cool. And, let me explore this, because it's a really good feeling to find that thing that you're passionate about, and to find your community and just feel accepted and joy and, everything that comes with that.
That says a whole lot.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. That's true. I feel the same way. That's why I feel the same way. Let's see. See, my wife gave me some notes to read. Oh yeah. One thing is, it's a real clean hobby. It doesn't cost that much. It's a lot of fun. It's inexpensive. You meet new people. You meet a
Mhm.
lot of people, interesting people, and it's just it's educational.
Yeah.
Uh, and the fun is the main thing. Here I am. I'm the oldest one of you two guys, and I've been doing this for 50 years. Even though I'm still having fun. I'm still smiling at
Uh-huh.
50 years.
I
something,
mean, you can't ask for more than that, right? I
something
mean,
going on good here.
yeah. I try to tell, I try to get people, that aren't familiar with the hobby. And I'm just like, you don't know what you're missing out on. I mean, this is like
Serious.
the best adult treasure hunting adult fun that I could ever think of all the things I've done in life. Like
It's fun.
it's
Oh,
so
yeah.
fun. Yes, it is.
I always encourage people to join a rock club because if you join a rock club, it's going to be some people in there like me that's been doing it a long time, and you're going to find some people who are just getting interested in it. And but you'll find that there's some really nice people that collect rocks. I guess
Yeah.
we're different. When I was growing up, I thought I was the only one in the world. Nobody does this with me, little kids, and kind of find out there are millions.
There's a whole world of us. Yeah.
There's a world of us. Exactly. And so I got one friend. He just loves rocks. I mean, he can pick up. I mean, he's older than me, and he said, "Boy, I said, you want to keep that?" He said, "I'm gonna keep this too." He put it in his bag, and I always talk about the lever right. You know the name about the lever right.
Lever right. Yeah.
Lever right there. He won't leave it right there. Put it in his bag. He said, "I just love rocks." I said, "Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that. That's great." But some of those. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, so if anyone is looking for where you can find a rock or mineral club in your area,
Yes.
The rock clubs will be registered with the American Federation of Mineralogical Society, or
Exactly.
AFMS. And if
Yes.
you search for it, AFMS minerals or anything like that online, you'll find their website. It's AmFed for American Federal or American Federation, so amfed.org. I know they just redid their website, so sometimes the link doesn't work for me, but if I Google it, it'll pop up. Their new website is fantastic. They used to just have a whole list of clubs by like state, and now they actually have a map, and you can go to the website and they will show you where all of the clubs are, and you can find clubs that are near you. And most of them are pretty cheap. They're less than $30 a year. You'll get newsletters, field trips, people like Amos that have been doing this for a long time that know what to do and can help you identify rocks, can help you with areas of where to look, like all sorts of stuff. So if anyone wants more information, AFMS or amfed.org, look it up and you'll be glad you did.
Yeah, it says Sue's here wanted to know, can anyone join your club, Amos, if they live in a different state?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
There you
we
go.
can. Yeah, we have people living in different states.
And that's true for a lot of clubs too. Amber was a member of the Minnesota Mineral Club. We've got in my mineral club, we've got almost I think we're finally over 850 members.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
We do a lot of field trips. A lot of people just join for field trips. Given that we're one of the bigger clubs, we also Zoom our meetings. But look up clubs and field trips. A lot of our members are members of multiple clubs, so it's not like you can only join one club. So
as many as you want to, as you like.
Yeah.
But yes, she definitely can join.
Awesome. All right. Well, Amos, was there anything else that you wanted to share with us tonight?
Well, I guess the thing, the one that helped me start the club in Dewes was Steve Miller. He lives up your way, and he loves agates. He and his wife Jody, they collect a lot of agates. But we started along with me about almost 2 years ago, and we have been going strong still. And remember, the greatest find has never been found yet. It's out there. It's out there for you, and me too.
Yeah.
And it's not just for me. It's for others too, to enjoy and to share in a hobby that is truly interesting. It's really educational, and it
keeps you young and keeps your mind working really well. But it's a wonderful thing, and meeting new people is
Yes.
for sure. So that's what I would say. And if anybody have any other questions, I thank you for inviting me to be a part of your podcast.
Thank you. It was such a pleasure to have you on.
And
Yes,
I'm
thanks
very honored to be,
for coming on.
and I'm honored to be with you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So our next episode, March 20th, we will have Chase Pipes. If you know Chase, he is the biggest, in my opinion, or in many others, the biggest history nerd ever. He loves history. He is a historian, a rockhound, a list, anything has to do with history. Chase Pipes does it. He's also the owner of the Smoky Mountain Relic Room. So we will have him on next week. So be sure to tune in. If you don't follow us on YouTube, go on over to YouTube and subscribe. Click the bell so that you can get notifications when we go live. And we are also on Facebook, Instagram as well. All of our shows are live stream on there. So I think that's it for tonight. We'll sign out and we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Peace out, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.